Great.
I think it started. Perfect. Let's see. Okay, cool. It looks like the recording has started. So we'll give it a couple of seconds and I'll just count down and we'll do a 3, 2, 1 and go into it. Sound cool?
Yep.
My screen's slightly. Perfect. All right. So in 3, 2, and 1. Hi, everyone. I'm Rita Kukati Shah, your host for The Uma Show. Well, I'll start that again. No problem. In 3, 2, and 1. Hi, everyone. I'm Rita Kukati Shah, your host for The Uma Show. Welcome to your one-stop journey for feeling empowered. We're a platform for change. We build confidence. We are your voice. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma. Today, we're exploring women making a difference. And I'm so excited to be joined by a goddess of go-getting, Aditi Juneja, who is joining us from New York. And she is an organizer, a lawyer, a writer, and most recently, having worked for Protect Democracy. Welcome, Aditi. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, Aditi. So let's start by talking about your heritage, your childhood, and how you grew up.
Yeah, so I was born in India, in Chandigarh, and we came to the United States when I was about 9 months old. So both my parents are Punjabi, and on both sides, my grandparents were refugees from Pakistan to India during the partition. And I grew up very much aware of being Indian and appreciating that, but also not sort of forced into a box because of it. I think our parents were really thoughtful about wanting to make sure that we didn't feel constrained or limited or like we couldn't participate in everything where we were in the United States. And a lot of that I learned only after the fact. So I talk to my parents now a lot, and they will share that, yeah, when you were little, you wanted to have a garage sale, and that wasn't something we ever did, but we didn't want you to feel like that wasn't something you could do. And I know that they faced some like criticism and skepticism from family members for that. So, my sister played basketball, and we didn't go to the Gurdwara because she had games on Sunday. And, this Thanksgiving, my parents were telling us how people in India and their family and relatives sometimes would say that we're spoiled because we are outspoken and opinionated and not intimidated by people in authority, including our parents. So I feel like it was, like a lot of third culture kids, this blend of experiences of being both American and Indian and constantly trying to figure out what that means.
No, I hear you. And your story resonates with so many people, especially living over here and sort of, having that almost dual identity to start with. And speaking of that, and the cultural initially, that a lot of space over here is that education in Korea are topics that dominate many conversations, especially in South Asian households. So can you talk to us about your journey studying economics and then law?
Yeah, so the way education was always framed for us growing up, which I don't know how common that is, was that it was two things. One is that it's something that no one can take from you. So as I explained, my grandparents on both sides were refugees. Their families had wealth, had land when they were in Pakistan, and they lost everything when they came to India. And so I think there was just this awareness that education is like a safety net, and it's something that people can't take what's in your brain. And growing up, I was often, my sister less so, but I was often really pushing back on this thing about like, why do I have to study? I don't even like want to do something where I need to get straight A's. Why does it matter? And the thing my dad always said to me was that it's about having options. It's about having the opportunity to do whatever you want to do. And if you decide to do something that doesn't require it, that's fine, but you just don't want to feel like you can't. So neither of us had a lot of pressure to do anything specific, do anything that would make us a lot of money. we always knew that after college, our parents would not financially support us. So we needed to be employed and have money, but we didn't have a lot of specifics about what that was. And I know that when we were in elementary or middle school, someone said to my dad that in the US, we also have a caste system, and it's based on where you went to college, and that where you went to school really impacts your ability to have access to different opportunities and the networks that it provides. And so our parents really tried to set us up with access to those spaces. And so we went to private schools for high school and like navigated that process. And then, we went to small liberal arts colleges, and then I went to law school. But for me, I felt like a lot of people ask my parents, like, how did you end up with a doctor and a lawyer? My sister's a doctor. And I think it was really reverse psychology, because like they didn't ever tell us that we needed to do anything specific or like what our what our majors were. It was very much like, you will not have money. So, I think both of us were looking for paths that were steady, but that also we were interested in. So in college, I took a lot of different classes. My first year, I liked economics and government, and I was trying to decide between the two majors, and government was like a lot of writing and reading, and economics seemed easier. So that's what I did. And a lot of the people who did economics were interested in finance or were international students who were thinking about like global development and policy. But for me, I was always interested in social policy and social justice. And I think I was cynical young. It became clear to me that the thing that decides what gets done and what doesn't is money. And so I really wanted to understand how those systems worked. And the summer before my last year of college, I did an internship with a judge in criminal court in New Jersey. And by then I was interested in the criminal justice system and was thinking about law. So that was my first entry point. So after college, I worked for 2 years at a prosecutor's office, thinking that was a good way to make change. My politics around criminal justice have changed a fair amount since then. I'm much more of an abolitionist now than a reformer. And I was on that path. I went to law school to do criminal justice reform. All of my classes, all of my internships were in that vein. And then my last year of law school, Donald Trump got elected, and that sort of changed my whole career trajectory.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And obviously that and your background in your education shaped the work that you do today. So can you talk to us about the work you do now, and then how you actually started doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So as I said, my last year of law school, when Donald Trump got elected, it was even before he got elected, I was really thinking about ways to, not just ways to get involved, but ways to understand what this meant, because it was a presidency and a candidacy like nothing we had ever seen before. And I'm relatively young, but talking to people older than me, reading the news, it was clear that it wasn't just something I hadn't seen in my lifetime, but something most people had not seen in their lifetimes, that this was a pretty atypical politician in the United States. And really the only comparable politicians were other want-to-be authoritarians in other countries. So, Bolsonaro was a better comparison than George Bush, right? Like it was very stark. So I began starting to learn and understand about authoritarianism and fascism. I remember there was a piece in Vox about Donald Trump and how his supporters were not even really Republicans. Like that wasn't the marker of Donald Trump's support. It was really the authoritarian urge. And I began trying, once he got elected, to understand what this would mean for the country, because he had proposed a bunch of really now it seems so long ago, but a bunch of policies that were really frightening. So he wanted to get rid of healthcare. He wanted to build a border wall. He was talking about the Muslim ban, all kinds of things. And then there were things that seemed like they might be popular. He was talking about infrastructure and Medicare and Social Security. So I sat down over that winter break and kind of made a table of, here are the policies he says he wants to do. Here's how, like, is this even possible? Can he do that? Kind of what is the process? And then trying to kind of identify, where are there moments or places of vulnerability? Where are there places for activism and places for people to get involved? And I shared that with someone who I had been working with on a criminal justice reform project, and he thought it was really useful and something we should make public. And that turned into what became Resistance Manual, which was an organization that I launched while in law school. And basically, my last semester of law school, I didn't go to class, I just ran that. And we were trying to provide the information that I sort of just outlined. And we launched on Inauguration Day, and there were like 300 volunteers who showed up, and I began organizing them because we were working with a Wikipedia type of page and trying to crowdsource this information and keep it updated in real time. So organizers on the ground had tools and resources for activism and good policy information to act on, because a lot of our news media and reporting and coverage is done in a kind of horse race politics lens of who's winning and who's losing, as opposed to, hey, if they get rid of healthcare, this is what it's going to mean for you if you have Medicaid, or if you have private insurance, or if you buy insurance through an exchange. Yeah. And so that was the lens we were operating through. And through that experience running it, I was running it internally, but I was also trying to build partnerships with a lot of national organizations to make sure it was being used, and also that we were sourcing the information that already existed as opposed to recreating the wheel. And in that process, that April, there was a gathering of, there were a bunch of new organizations that launched at that time. So in April, there was a gathering of the old guard and the new guard, trying to get folks to work together and know one another. And there I met the executive director of the organization that was Protect Democracy, where I was for the last almost 4 years.
Nice. So it all sort of panned together, and one thing led to another, and it all kind of happened as it should. So I love that story. Thank you for sharing. You have many accomplishments, including being named to Forbes 30 Under 30 for law and policy. And you've written for NPR, Vox, as you mentioned, Bustle, The Root, and Talking Points Memo. What's next on the horizon for you?
So I recently left Protect Democracy. I left in October, and I left, one, it had been 4 years. So looking for my next step, and how to continue to learn and grow and contribute in this space. But also the political landscape has changed. With Donald Trump no longer in office, there are questions about sort of how do we really combat this larger problem and movement, not just of Trump, but of Trumpism, of the fact that people not just tolerate it as politics, but are attracted to it and really care about and want someone like Trump in office. And that's not just an American problem, that's a problem around the world, where people are kind of attracted to strong men. We see it in India with Modi and around the world. And one of, kind of the simplest thing that I can think about of how to kind of push back on that strain of politics and make it not viable is for candidates like that to lose, and to lose resoundingly. Because I think that the Republican Party, which is, now an authoritarian party, will change its approach, will change its strategy. Candidates will change their strategy if they're just losing and losing and losing. So what's next on the horizon for me in January is to work for an organization that's working to do that. Resource organizers on the ground in communities to help really push progressive values and progressive agendas, and in elections to make sure candidates who don't stand for those values lose.
Thank you for sharing that and your plan. So fingers crossed, and we're going to be watching you and your steps out there. Obviously, there are going to be many challenges along the way, and challenges are a part of life, but it's how we deal with them that strengthens who we are ultimately. Could you share a personal or even a professional challenge and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I mean, so the last year, the 2020 year, I was at Protect Democracy, and I was running the National Task Force on Election Crisis, which was focused on the period from after the election until January 20th. As folks around the world will know, there was a lot of questions about whether we would have a smooth transition of power, and there was an insurrection on our Capitol on January 6th. And I was working on all of that, and had been scenario planning for it for almost 2 years before it all happened. And so we were really trying to resource people with voice, people with power across, industries and spaces, to really understand what that time period was going to look like, and what the process was, and also where there might be chaos, and try to limit it. And doing that work, as you can imagine, was very intense. Most people were focused on winning the election, not on the transition. And so in the aftermath, I was incredibly burnt out. And so that is, and I was not my best self at work, in my personal life, in the period afterwards. And that made just everything really challenging for me. And that is something that I'm still sort of navigating. It's a challenge I'm still navigating. And I think what I've taken from it, and it's interesting because when I started doing this work back in 2017, I had a podcast, Self-Care Sundays, because it was very clear for me as I started doing this work that self-care, community care, resourcing ourselves was something everyone was struggling with. And despite my awareness of that, despite having, been more informed than most, I still ended up in a place where I was really burnt out. And so now what I'm doing with this time off before I start my next job is really trying to figure out what I can do differently in my next role to make it more sustainable. And I will be in a position in that organization to do that, not just for myself, but to really think about systems and processes that we can implement so that it's not just for me, but for us as an organization. So it's not just an individual responsibility, but a collective one of community care. So that is a challenge I'm navigating both at a personal level, but then also thinking about it across the movement space.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that, because that's something actually a lot of people go through and forget about. You're so passionate about something, but then how do you turn that passion into also self-care and sort of managing to structure your day so you don't get burnt out in the process? Yeah. So I'm really glad you actually shared that. Before we let you go, what advice would you give to any young girls or young women wanting to follow in your footsteps?
I would say that I think that, especially in the political realm, there can be a pressure. And I think as folks are thinking about how to be good citizens, there's a pressure to be really well informed and to just like be reading about and learning about everything. And I think my advice is a little contrarian, which is rather than trying to keep up to date on everything that's happening in your political space, pick one thing that you really care about and don't just learn about it, but do something about it and find a way to get involved in that space. There are a lot of, and there's research that bears this out, a lot of political hobbyists is the word people use. So people don't participate in politics where they're doing politics, where they're trying to actually make a change in our political system or it doesn't have to be like necessarily political, but in a social issue, but instead they're just consuming a lot of information about it. And so it's a hobby the way reading comic books is a hobby. They're just consumers of it. And politics is not a thing that you should just be consuming. It's a thing you should be doing. And so my advice to all young people or anyone looking to get involved is rather than trying to learn about everything, pick one thing, learn about that, and actually do something about it and try to make a change in it. And that doesn't have to be your job. That doesn't have to be your full-time career. But the way you make a reputation in this space and the way you feel fulfilled is by actually getting something done. And I think that's why we do this work. It's not to know all the information and be able to argue with your uncle at Thanksgiving, right? It's to actually make a change.
I love that you shared that. Actions speak louder than words, as they say. So thank you so much, Aditi, for sharing your incredible journey with us today. And thank you to our viewers for joining us on this empowerment journey. We want you all to embrace that inner goddess of go-getting. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma.
Great.
And that's it. We're done.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. So before I actually let you go, we normally do like a quick 15-20 second snippet that we put on social media where we do actually advertise the show. So I'm just going to reintroduce you again. And then I'm going to say, okay, Aditi, what are we going to talk about on the show? And then just give me a quick 15-second sort of snippet about your journey, how you got into politics, about your career transition, whatever it is, or something like that. Is that cool?
Yep.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Great. Hi, everyone. On the next episode of The Uma Show, we're going to be talking to Goddess of Go-Getting, Aditi Juneja. She's joining us from New York. She's an organizer, a lawyer, a writer, and she most recently worked for Protect Democracy. Aditi, what are we going to talk about on the show?
We're going to talk about how to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Love that. Can't wait to watch the show. That's it. That's perfect. I love it.
Great.
Amazing. Well, Aditi, thank you so much. We'll let you know when this is going to air. It'll probably be in about a month or so. And we'll do like a flyer and things like that. And we'll send you that in advance as well. So if you happen to have any social media handles, anything you want tagged, just feel free to let the team know, and we'll make sure to tag away on those as well.
Great. I'll send that email right now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So amazing. So thanks again so much. And yeah, I'd love to stay in touch and sort of follow the amazing work you're doing. So yeah, might just reach out separately to say hello at some point. Yeah. And we're both in New York City. I'm back now. So
wonderful.
Well, thanks so much, Aditi. I'll let you go now. Thanks again so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, next show recording. Let me get... Hi, Sunita Ba. Hi. Can you see me? I think I can see myself as frozen. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you very well.
Okay, good, because my own image of myself is frozen. So I don't know. Let me turn my video off and on and see if that makes a difference for my side.
Okay. Try that.
Okay, that's better. Okay, now I'm moving again. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. We just got back from Assam yesterday.
Oh, how was the trip?
Very nice. Little difficult because I met my mother after my father passed away for the first time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it was difficult. But before that, I had gone to Delhi and had done a workshop for ONGC. So that went well. So that was nice. And yeah, we got back yesterday and I was, there's this wedding happening. I've closed all the windows with the air conditioning on, but at least the crackers are not bursting now.
If it is. It's just part of the charm,
Yeah.
So
I don't know how the screen is.
You look fine to me. So when at the end, when I ask you to play the violin, do you have it ready, or do you have to go to a different room, or what do you?
No, we will have it because the music was on. I just took a little break and I said, okay, I'll get ready and wait for it. So hence I'm rushed. I'll need just a few minutes to take the violin out. It's just next to me.
Okay, no problem.
I'll keep it out.
So yeah, we'll see, and then maybe the team can edit that little bit to make it a little bit more seamless.
Yeah, then I'll put on the Tanpura, and also, if you can give me that, because I can't keep putting the Tanpura on whilst I'm talking to you. It's going to come in.
Sure, yeah, no problem.
So I was just thinking about
and also I need a little bit in the, that's it. Now you're good. You just need to be in the middle of
yes, that's what I was feeling too. No.
And move it other way.
This is better?
That's better, yeah. Perfect. Cool. All right. So this is going to live stream to a private Mana TV channel. So only they can access it. So eventually what they're going to do is they're going to take this episode, they're going to edit it to make it look like the actual TV show episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but now we are not live, right?
Only on a private Mana TV channel. Only they can see it. Nobody else can see it.
Ah, okay.
Right. So that's just so that they can stream it themselves. Nobody else can see it.
I don't know why. I can see the Mana. There's Mana TV also, which is logged in, right?
Yeah. Because it's their hosting and everything. So yeah.
So how much of me would you see? I'm actually sitting on a sofa.
You look fine. Yeah. Just try and stay still if you can. Don't move around too much. I think you look great. Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah, move your screen so you're more in the middle, because you're on the side a little bit now. Yeah, move the screen if you can to the other side, not the plant side, to the other side. Move the screen to the other side. That's better. Yeah, that's better. That's good. All right, so let's get going. We're going to keep it conversational, Sunita Ba. You're beautiful and brilliant at this sort of thing anyway. And we'll keep it.
Yeah, so will you give me 2 minutes, because I have to just wear something, because I didn't want to keep you waiting.
Sure. Okay, we don't have that much time though, so just be very quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Go
for the violin, how do we do this? Will we take a break?
It's going to be aired all together. So just literally pick up the violin any time where you're moving it. They'll just be edited out.
I'll just do that. Yeah. Give me a minute. Give me just 2 minutes. Okay. Just 2 minutes.
Sunita Ba, but I cannot see you.
Yeah. Just give me a second. So that we don't need to do too much of a gap before I play. Just keep everything ready.
And where are you now? Are you in Mumbai? Or are you in Delhi now?
No, I'm in Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Wait.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned the right location. So
Yeah, I came back from Mumbai.
perfect. All right, Sunita, but let's get started. I do have a meeting after this, so I need to run afterwards. So I want to get started. And I want to make sure that we have enough time to get this all sorted.
Yes,
Cool?
yes. So I wanted to ask you, how much would you like me to? That's a short piece, right? To play?
Yeah, just something short. So I want everyone just to be able to hear you play. You don't have to go into a huge big thing. Just a short couple of minutes, just as short so people can hear your flavor, your magic,
Yeah, then I don't know whether I need the tanpuras that we don't use too much.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just a short one, that way it looks more realistic. If you put you can, if you have the tanpura, just hit play or something. I don't know, but just something that it's yeah. I mean, we can edit out the bits in between, but we do need to get started now, Sunita Ba. So come and sit and let's get started.
Yes.
Ready? And any bits when you're moving to the violin and stuff, we'll edit that out. So don't worry about that, okay?
Okay, we can. Small edits can happen, right? Is the background all okay?
Perfect. But we need to get started now, Sunita Ba, because I actually do have a meeting straight after this. And
everyone, we are starting now. Please be silent. Because that's the thing of the home, right?
I know, excellent. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to count down and I'm going to go in 3, 2, and 1. And then we're going to just go straight into the episode. Good?
Okay.
All right. Your hair looks great. Just
I know you're in a rush.
I'm going to get started now. So I'm just going to count down, okay?
Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so just sit still so that, okay, great. Perfect.
Wish I could have gone to the main big studio, but
no, you look great. Okay, so I'm going to count down and we're going to start, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. In 3, 2, and 1. Hi everyone, I'm Rita Kakati Shah, your host for the Uma Show. Welcome to your one-stop journey for feeling empowered. We're a platform for change. We build confidence. We are your voice. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma. Today, we're exploring leadership through music, and I'm so excited to be joined by Goddess of Go-Getting, Sunita Konpuyan, who is joining us from Mumbai, and she is an Indo-fusion violinist and leadership trainer. Welcome, Sunita Ba. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Rita. Thank you for inviting me. It's so wonderful to be on the Uma Show for Mana TV.
Oh, it's absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us again. So let's start by talking through us about your heritage, your childhood, and how you grew up.
Well, like I said, I learned the violin from my mother. My mother has always been a very senior violinist from the northeast of India, from Assam, and 60 years, in fact, 70 years back, she started learning herself. She started at the age of 10.
Wait, we'll answer that question second when I ask you about your music, but just talk to me about your heritage, how you grew up. Talk to me, you're from born in Assam or whenever you were born. Just talk about where you were born, your childhood. Okay. So I'm going to ask that question again, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's ask that question again. Okay. Great. So let's start by talking to us about your heritage, your childhood, and how you grew up.
I grew up in a small town, but a beautiful one, in Upper Assam, in the northeast of India, called Dibrugarh. And it's one of those rare towns where the tea estate grows into the town. So when we used to go to school, we used to have the tea estate shrub, both sides of the road to the school. So one of those rare towns of Assam, Upper Assam. Assam is Lower Assam and Upper Assam, depending on the flow of the Brahmaputra. Then you've got a north bank and the south bank. The Upper Assam is up towards the north, and that's where Dibrugarh is. I did my schooling there, and it's one of the most beautiful, picturesque towns on the banks of the Brahmaputra.
Oh, lovely. Love that. And the picturesque glory that you've just described there. So you grew up with music from childhood. In fact, started playing the violin as a duet with your mother. Can you walk us through your musical journey and how you balance that later with your education?
Well, as you would know, Rita, that my mother is Minoti Count, a very well-known violinist of the Northeast in Assam. In those days, she played the violin, a Western instrument, of course, in Hindustani classical style. So when she was 8.5 to 10 or 9 years old, she saw a dream that she wanted to play an instrument which looked like the violin, which was quite amazing. And her grandfather got her a violin, and then she started learning from Sri Indra Sharma locally in Jorhat, and then she started playing the violin, then learned from a guru eventually. And then she started teaching me when I was 8 years old, and I had no choice. I was forced to learn the violin, and it's a very overwhelming instrument, right? So I wasn't very keen to dedicate so much of my childhood into the violin, but my mother was very clear that she wanted me to do the riyaz, learn the craft, learn the technique, the discipline, the training, and the exams, and the studies of music went along till I was 25 years of age. And she made me do my master's. Just before I got married, she said, there's one more thing you need to do, that complete your master's in music. And I think that one which I resisted the most, that milestone of studying music of the 15th century, 16th century, that music exam, which had a paper on music therapy and its impact on the mind and body, has today given me an identity and a new lease to life with violin and music. So as much as I resisted her, her entire discipline of teaching me the craft, today I think I am because she is my mother.
I love that. It's almost like, the wisdom of our ancestors and how that sort of, narrates our paths forward, and how for you that was your path forward, but you didn't know it back then. So now, fast forward to today, you are a renowned musician, a sought after leadership trainer as well, not just in India, not just in Assam, but around the world. Can you tell us about your work and how you got into that field in the first place?
Well, like I said, music was like a religion in the family. And hence it was granted that, taken for granted, I would do the violin. And then when my mother took me to her guru, he said that it's very good that you're making her study, because academics is very important. He felt that artists and musicians should be thinking professionals and then use their craft. So he was very progressive. And hence I kept studying and did my master's in business administration. I took up human resources. And of course, eventually, when you do an MBA, you come to a city like Mumbai. After I got married to my husband, Surajit, we came to Bombay, and I took up a job because I had not yet started my independent music career. I was playing with my mother till then, accompanying her and doing a bit of small little music pieces here and there. But independently, when I came to Mumbai, I didn't have I couldn't do a livelihood out of music just like that. You don't get a ready-made stage in a city like Bombay. being a classical musician at that time, I'm talking about 20 years back. So I took up a job in an organization. It was a ITES organization outsourcing to the BPO outfit, where American Express was doing a large project on customer service, where hundreds of jobs were being outsourced to India, and I was the training manager for that. And then I realized that, internalizing, being calm and composed, being holistic in one's approach to be able to deal with people were the biggest opportunities I saw in the young Indian corporate professional. And that's when I realized that the benefits of music, the understanding of the discipline, the creativity, the inclusion, the sensitivity, the listening, the camaraderie that musicians share with each other, all these concepts would go a long way in inculcating the value of the softer side of leadership, which became the most powerful side as we go along. They say that chief executives need to know people more than their craft today. So that's when I started blending both my musical career or my musical passion with my work in human resources. And from the corporate boardroom to the stage, I started splitting. It became a very easy journey from the stage to the training room and back into the training room and back onto international stages. So I don't have an exact time as to when they both blurred together, but my concert career also started developing, also started blooming. Then, of course, I started staying in Bombay, interacting with musicians. I traveled with my work, and that gave me more insight into new musical genres and sounds in UK, in Scotland, in New York, in US. And I think today, both my concert stage and my training room learns from each other. I take one learning into the other, and I try to create a synergy as much as I can.
Thank you for sharing that incredible insight for us, because to your point, you've actually merged your two passions. And you are continuing to learn, because that's what music's about. That's what leadership is about. And that's what business training is about as well. So I love how you just merge them together. You've made it work for you, your two passions, and they work so closely together. Who would have known until you actually brought these two loves together? So thanks for sharing that. And you've actually had many accomplishments through the work that you do, including winning national and international awards in music and leadership, including the Women's Achievement Award, the Indira Gandhi Priyadarshini Award for Excellence, and so many more. What's next on the horizon for you?
I think I need to create, I was never in the digital space. I shared with you earlier. I always was complacent. I was always in the physical space. I always thought that I don't need to clutter the internet, because let me be one artist or a professional who just specializes on the stage, the physical energy of doing an engagement of music to give a message to the violin, right? That was my main mission. And hence communities, children, corporate audiences, normal audiences were my thriving areas of doing my music. But then I realized, especially after the pandemic, that being digitally present is important to keep your legacy behind. And hence, my father, who passed away to COVID 6 months back, always wanted me to do an album with my son. And then he used to ask me, what are these awards like Grammy? Why don't I see you doing all these things? I only see you doing things that are away from all this. I said, Papa, I never went into that path, but I think I will do an album with my son. And I would like to take on the whole concept of music, leadership, social change, another level of mental health, and how it helps the mind and body, how scientific music is, how important it is to inculcate the habit of the arts for young children, for young professionals, because the more they are soothed, the more they are healthy internally, and the mind drives the body, the more their mind is composed. It helps them become better professionals. It helps you to create a better society around you. And, we're talking about a circular economy. I feel that you've got to create circular societies, and the arts and music can be a great medium to be able to driving social change, inclusion, empathy for each other. So hence my mission is to ensure that mental health becomes an integral part of all the audiences that I try to entertain with my music. I would like to also go a step further and help them with their mental conditioning, their mental health, and their overall well-being through music.
Oh, so well said. And I love that. And I love how history has repeated itself, because now your son is a musician as well. And I believe he plays the piano. Does he also play the violin as well? Or
no, not all. A lot of my family members tell me, why didn't you teach him the violin? I said, I don't have that selflessness that my mother had to teach the violin is one of the most difficult instruments to teach, especially to a young child. And I think I was quite self-centered in my younger days when he was small, to be able to be that persuasive, being so diligent, consistent, and the commitment to teach a child violin, because violin is not just one instrument, Uma. The violin is two instruments. You have the bow and you have the violin. So it's two instruments together that you have to play. So which means balance, motor, motor, being agile, being alert. There's a lot that goes into, using both your hands. And it's a very difficult technique to teach. So I think I didn't want to take up that whole huge responsibility. So I'm so happy he's taken piano. I don't know anything about the piano. He doesn't know anything about the violin. The only time we connect with each other is to the universality of music and the seven notes. So that's a really nice space to be together in.
I love that connection that you built. That's amazing. So now switching gear a little bit, challenges are a part of life, but it's really how we deal with them that sets us apart as leaders, specifically in the world we're in today. Could you share either a personal or professional example of a challenge and how you overcame it?
Earlier, the challenge was the identity of the violin. Okay, it was always looked upon. Oh, she's a classical musician. They would say that she's very good, but then I think we'll give her earlier in the evening because we want to have entertainers later in the night. So that was always the image that violin had. You're right, and especially in Assam, where I come from there originally, and there's this festival called Bihu, and everyone dances and sings for about 2 months. I was always invited to perform in the earlier times on the stage because I never for the headlining sessions. Reason being, again, violinist. You're supposed to be just, you're supposed to be your own world and keep playing, but then I wanted to break that myth that the violin has the power, the repertoire to play from classical to folk to melancholy to jazz to rock to all kinds of music. And hence, when I got the opportunity and the invitation to play at Assamese folk on the violin, I think that was the turning point of using the violin for a larger audience. And I tried to prove that you can entertain, you can make people dance. And the timing started getting later and later, that I was invited to sometimes start playing at 10 in the night, and which was very challenging. So that was one. And the other challenge was the whole using music as a tool. So a lot of times people thought that my workshop was a music workshop. It's actually a leadership workshop with a message. I used music just as a tool. That took a little time to socialize, but been very lucky to have very good collaborators, very good mentors, very good HR heads across organizations who embraced the concept of music, and hence, I got a lot of opportunity to try out my module over varied audiences across different countries. So that was an opportunity, and I think I learned from every opportunity that I got through that.
So well said. Thank you for sharing that. What advice would you give to any young girls or women wanting to follow in your footsteps?
I would say that if you can, if you really want to be in a particular profession, of course, I never followed Instagram and YouTube because I said I never had any recorded material. Most of the material I have recorded is done by someone else when I played probably for a live performance. If you can create a niche and create a specialization in any form of profession that you take, whether it's music or the arts or human resources, like what you are doing, you're creating a different niche in the way you are dealing with, you're creating these forums for women and initiatives and training. So we can create a niche. The world, it may not be a very large world, but wherever you are in a much better space. You don't compete with anyone but yourself. I think that's a great space to be. I think that I don't have to compete with anyone else at this point, because I'm using music as a mission to be able to impact people's minds and to be able to change a few mindsets and attitudes in the corporate world. So that's the kind of niche. We've got to find out a niche. And the second thing is that you have to build your craft very deep. Anything that you do, whether it's any kind of profession, whether you want to be a chef or a musician or a homemaker, we've got to be very deep in our craft, and we've got to strategize very well to be up there.
Absolutely. Really, really well said. Before we let you go, I did see a peek of your violin and your bow earlier on. So we would love to hear a quick piece from you. If you could play a few lines, it would be great.
Let me just put on the Tanpura. The Tanpura. Do you hear the sound of the Tanpura? Can you hear it?
Not really. You might have to turn it up a little bit.
Now?
You have to turn it up a bit. Or maybe can you move it closer to the...
And you say you don't absolutely hear the sound of the music of the Bharat. There's a wedding happening in next door in this Bombay. I'm in Mumbai, and there's a wedding season. There's a wedding happening with blasting music.
I can hear the Tanpura now.
Yeah.
On and off. There it is.
So this is a very old violin that I have. It's an antique. It's a German violin, which my mother gave me many, many years ago when I was a very little girl from Kolkata. It's a reassembled piece from Kolkata, from the famous violin makers Wandel and Sons. And I think this is like part of my own self. I've never held even my son on my arms as much as I've held this violin over the years. I'd like to do two quick pieces. Do we have time for that?
Sure, go for it.
The first is, especially in this world today, how the world has become. It's become so challenging, and a lot of times I feel alone. And I've been working with the space of mental health for the last few years. This song of Tagore really resonates very well with people like us who are trying to do something on our own path. And you're going to be you can resonate with that too, with all that you do, Rita. If you have no one to walk with you, you've got to walk alone, but you've got to keep walking your path. Jodi tor dak shune kew na ashe tabe ekla cholo re, tabe ekla cholo ekla cholo re, jodi tor dak shune kew na ashe tabe ekla cholo re.
Oh, beautiful. That was so precious to hear.
And the next one, of course, we've talked about Assam a lot, and we both happen to come from there.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a song for the world. It's a song for all the rivers. It's a song for Mother Earth. And Dr. Bhupen Hazarika, the Bard of the Brahmaputra, who was awarded the highest civilian honor after he passed away last year, Bharat Ratna. He shouted to the rivers and said, why do you keep flowing when there's so much unrest around you, when the world is degrading around both your banks, but you still keep flowing and flowing. Vistar hai apar, praja dono par, kare hahakar, nishabd sada, o Ganga behti ho kyun? In Assamese, Vistirna dupar, Vistirna parare, Ahankya janare, Hahakar hunyu, Nikhapde nirabe, Budhalui tumi, budhalui bua, iya.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And you just have this ability to make the music just come alive. That's incredible. Wow. Thank you so much, Sunita Ba, for sharing your music and your incredible journey with us today. And thank you to our viewers for joining us on our empowerment journey. We want you all to embrace the inner goddess of go-getting inside each of you. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma. Woohoo! Love it. Amazing. Thank you so much, Sunita Ba. So we're done for the recording.
Thank you, Rita. I thought I would end with a Scottish piece, to pep up a little bit. And but when I play one song, I forget about talking over the others. So
no
we're done
problem.
recording.
I love it. So we're done with the recording. But before I let you go, we normally do like a quick 15-20 second, like a snippet as a preview for viewers, like usually a week before the show comes out. We put it on like Instagram and Facebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reintroduce you, and then I'm just going to say, okay, Sunita Ba, what are we going to talk about on the show? And give me a quick 10-15 seconds of what are we going to talk about. You can even get the violin out and play something that is just you, because you have it anyway. So let's do that. I'll introduce you, and then you can just give a brief overview and then just play a quick.
So will you be using the third piece I played?
It may not come properly because it's after my outro. So why don't you play that now, the Scottish piece? Yeah? Okay, should we do that now? Okay, perfect. So I don't know, but play it now. So I think that'll be great. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm going to just introduce you, and then we're going. So hi, everyone. On the next episode of the Uma Show, I'm going to be in conversation with Goddess of Go-Getting, Sunita Kongpuyan, who's joining us from Mumbai. She is an Indo-fusion violinist and leadership trainer. Welcome, Sunita Ba. Talk to us about what are we going to see on the show?
We're going to talk about music, what it can do to our minds and bodies, how it can teach us profound lessons of working together. And of course, we're going to play some music. Why not?
I love it. Can't wait to show you the show. And that's it. Done. Perfect. That was brilliant.
Wow. You're so quick. And 1 second. You're so quick and so good at what you do, Rita.
You're so sweet. So, Sunita, thank you so much for this, and we'll chat again soon. You know, to be continued from our last conversation. But I definitely wanted to know if I got this in.
Yeah,
so.
you have the meeting now, so thank you, and bye for now then.
Thank you so much, Sunita. And this is beautiful. I think maybe in 1 or 2 months' time, I'll let you know a little bit more accurate timeline as we get closer about when this will air. But I can't wait. This is going to be so super special.
And Mana TV is a channel in the USA or in India?
So Mana TV is original in Indian channel. This is Mana TV International. So it airs around the world. It has an incredibly big following. The studio that this is recording from is actually based in the US, but it's an India team, Hyderabad-based team right now that are doing the recording. So they're literally everywhere, huge, following everywhere. So this will air and it'll go on all of their channels. It'll come on our YouTube as well, and I'll share the link and everything. So when that's ready.
All right. I will let you go to your meeting, and thanks again, and bye for now then.
Thanks, Sunita. Bye.
Can we take a screenshot?
Oh, go for it. You do it. You can go for it.
I don't know how to do it with this new machine.
Oh, you know what? I'm on my phone right now, so if I try to take it off, it collapses. Yeah. There should be a print screen button on your phone. You just muted yourself.
That's why I took time to log in. Well, we'll take it from the show when we do it.
Yeah, when it airs, and you can just print screen. That's easier. Yeah, let's do it from the show. No problem.
Yeah,
it'll look better that way. Okay, see you soon, Sunita. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.